Hi everyone, welcome. We're just going to wait for a few more people and then we'll begin. Jimmy, hi.
Hi guys, how are you?
Good, good. I just wanted to know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Okay, we can see your screen.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, so what we're going to do, we're just going to wait for people to come in and then we can start, let me see, in about three minutes.
Sawa, no worries.
All right. Yeah, so I think we can start. People will be streaming on YouTube. So if you know anyone who isn't able to join us today, just share the link, the YouTube link with them. Maria will post it in the chat, and you'll also find it on our Twitter as well. Yeah, so let me introduce Jimmy. Jimmy, um, an amazing friend. We started the journey. Okay, he started, I think, before me or around the same time. And he's been doing amazing, amazing things. If you're in the same room with Jimmy, please just switch off your devices. Otherwise, all your stuff will get stolen for sure.
That's a
But
lie.
yeah. Yeah, but Jimmy, it's such an honor to have you here with us today. This is the first time you're speaking at She Hats, and we are so honored to have you.
Thank you.
And yeah, we're looking forward to the presentation. So you can proceed, introduce yourself, and proceed.
Sawa, asante sana. Hello guys. Just as Laura has mentioned, my name is Jimmy, and we've known each other for quite some time now because we're in the same industry. We started together, been doing things here and there, and I'm really, really proud of you, Laura, and your team for what you guys are doing. It's really, really amazing, and I hope this session will be encouraging for those guys who are joining, and it will also be something for you to learn two or three things out of it. So I don't want to waste a lot of time. We'll have a session for question and answers as I take you guys through. So this will not be anything technical. There's no hacking and doing all those tunnel kind of stuff. This is just more like a general conversation between I and the team that is already here, just to see, using our technology, are we secure in terms of privacy, or are we giving out too much? So it's going to be more of a discussion and conversation. And then later on, if you have question or you have suggestion, you're welcome to bring it on board. Other than that, I think I'll just jump into it straight, unless somebody has something to ask before we start. Okay, so sure, let's take it. So as the title says, your technology is tracking you, and I trust all of us, or close to all of us, we are using a smartphone. We definitely probably have a computer, be it a personal laptop or a desktop computer, and we use it every day. And now, nowadays, having internet connection is more like a necessity. I don't know how many of us can stay a whole day without access to internet. So this technology make our life easier, and I'm one of those guys who enjoy using technology each and every day. I don't think I can do without my gadgets, that's for sure. But then again, have you ever sat down and think about what are we giving out in terms of our privacy? What is it that these applications that we use, they know about us? Our own devices, for example, our mobile phone, is it tracking us? Such kind of thoughts. I know we might have thought of it sometime, but we've never really dwelled into it to find out exactly what happens. So today we'll go through this session just to highlight a few things here and there on what you need to do to secure yourself. Okay. Our agenda is going to be very short. We're discussing 5 things. That is using a smartphone, social media privacy issues. We have Instagram, we have Facebook and all other social media applications that we use. Have we ever even read the privacy policy they have? Are we on Google? Have you ever sat down and searched yourself on Google? What results do you see? And also, we know that we use this application for social media for free, but are they really free? And if it is free, how are these guys making money out of it? Then lastly, we will talk about how you can protect yourself in terms of ensuring your privacy is at least safeguarded and all that. So we all have a smartphone, I assume, or at least some point if you ever had one. But are you smart enough to use your smartphone? That's a question that I think most of us need to ask ourselves, because I personally will tell you free, I am not as smart as my phone is, because sometimes when I get at home, first thing first, when I open the screen of the phone, my WhatsApp usually tells me, welcome home. First time I saw it, I was like, how did you know I'm at home? Then later on, when I did the research, I understood that this application understand your habits and your patterns. For instance, how WhatsApp was able to know I was at home is because of my Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi does not have any home kind of a name that will say, okay, this is a home Wi-Fi. No, this is a generic name. But it tends to look at the behavior. At what time are you always logged onto this Wi-Fi? Before I go to bed, let's say I go to bed around 12 or 1, I'm still connected to that Wi-Fi. I wake up at 7, I'm still connected to that Wi-Fi. For 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months, 4 months. So definitely it learns that this is definitely where this guy lives. So telling him welcome home would definitely not be a mistake, which is true. It's scary some point, because it kind of tells you that your application is kind of looking for patterns in the things of how you do stuff in your own home, be it on how you search online, the messages you text people and all that. There's a controversy that was brought up a few months ago in terms of how WhatsApp is now able to communicate with Facebook. Deeper research showed that the text that we make, I mean, the communication that we do, sometimes we post on groups, sometimes we just talk to a friend, family member, and the messages that we send, they are keywords that are being picked up by WhatsApp, so that these keywords can be used for advertisement. So for instance, let's say you are posting about you wanted to buy a certain type of a shoe or a certain brand, you're looking for it. WhatsApp is able to pick that particular keyword and send it to Facebook. So the next time you log into Facebook, you'll see that there's a pop-up for that particular brand that you're looking for. So somebody will say, oh, I was so lucky to have seen this ad. We were actually looking for this particular shoe. But the truth is, the application that you're using on your phone is what is actually making your life a little bit easier by collecting such information. So somebody would say, that's a good thing because it makes my life easier. the application is able to know what I want and it's able to bring it up on me when I want it. That is true. But then again, there are things you might not know in terms of how much data is being collected from your own side. So the demographic data, let's say, for instance, your age, are you male or female, how much you earn, such kind of stuff. With your phone, you have a lot of information that you actually do not know. You have such power in terms of information that you have. So these applications are able to collect this information in the background, and then they do their own thing, machine learning and all that. Then they're able to deduct how much you're worth in terms of a person. So when they're sending you an ad, they specifically know the probability of you buying this application or buying that product, if you can or you cannot. So it's a whole lot of things that goes behind the scene as we enjoy the application because we understand it's free, because at the end of the month, you don't pay for anything, but they benefit from the ideas of getting you information and selling this information or using it to a way that is going to be beneficial on their own end. So what your phone knows about you. So like I mentioned, we use our phone on almost everything, from saving our passcodes, collecting information about our friends. When you want to, let's say, take an Uber, you use your app, your phone and all that. All this information, they contain in that one particular gadget, which is your phone. And the applications installed on your phone, in most of the cases, you'll notice that there are some applications that require certain permission. Let's say storage permission, could be location permission and all that. We tend to give those permissions without necessarily understanding why is this particular application asking for this. What do we call it? Sorry, the name was gone. But all I'm trying to say is we need to think before we access these applications that require certain permission. If you go like use Gmail will require access to your camera, your microphone, your storage, and all that. But then again, you'll ask yourself, this is just an email client application. Why would it want to have access to my microphone, my camera, and all that? But most of the time, we don't look at that. I bet if you go through your phone right now and go to the permission under your settings, and then you look at each and every application and the kind of permission that you've allowed them, you'd be surprised. And then you wouldn't even understand, when did I do this kind of, allowing this application to have certain permissions. So your application, the applications you have on your phone, they have your location history, even your current location, they have everything. If you use, let's say, an iPhone and you talk to Siri quite a lot, it has that information, your password, your messages, all the information you've given to Google. People say, I don't give my information to Google. How would you say they have information? You forget that you're using Gmail, and Gmail is actually the primary email account on your phone if you're using an Android. And that's how you give information to Google. And then also all the information you've given to your apps. Sometimes you join to, let's say, an application, then they require you to join using your email. You could say you can use social media to log in and all that. That permission that you grant to that particular application also extends to how much you'll be sharing with that application in the back without your knowledge. I normally ask people, but I've never found anyone who's ever told me that they always read the privacy policy for every application they use. I doubt any of us has done that. And if you have, I'll be so glad to know that. And I think we can have more conversation on that. But I also advise us, just go and sit down. I know most of us might not be on Facebook, but definitely we're using WhatsApp. Some of us are using Instagram and the likes. Read their privacy policy, see what they're able to collect, and see, is it something you're willing to give out or you don't want to? Because most of the time we give a lot of info without necessarily knowing we're doing that. So this is what your device is actually giving out in a nutshell, just to give you an overview. From your password, your deleted files, your bank account information, your contacts. And one guy never uses this application called Truecaller, but I know most of us love using Truecaller. Just do your own research and understand how Truecaller works. And there was a issue that happened some time back with Truecaller, because you might have my number on your phone and you've saved it with my name, but I personally am not on Truecaller. So Truecaller tends to pick that information in terms of my contact. It looks at another 10, 20 people who have the same contact and might have saved it under the same name. So it assumes that is my name and it goes on to publish that information online. So if you go search for me, you're able to get the phone number associated with the name on it. But that one was actually removed. It used to be back in the day. And it's not a good thing. If you really want to use it, it's okay. But I would say it's not really a good thing you need to have on your as part of your applications. We also have recent visited sites. That's what your phone has. It also has current location, recent location, name and address, and a bunch of all other stuff which you might not be aware of. This is not a bad thing because some of the applications require this permission in order to function properly, and some of them require this permission in order to provide you with basic service that are actually accurate, which is okay. But then again, not entirely true. For example, if you want to use Uber, you'll only use Uber because you're traveling from one point to another. But when you're done, it's logical to just turn it off and deny access for your location, because sometimes these applications do collect information in the background without your knowledge. So it's always good to be aware of certain things so that even when you get into, kind of a certain lifestyle, you already know how to go about stuff. Now we have social media and privacy. Privacy concerns social networking services is a subset of data privacy involving the right of mandating personal privacy concerning storing, purposing, provision, third parties, and displaying of information on the internet. Like I've already mentioned a bit about, reading the privacy policy of these applications that we use. There's also another issue of posting stuff online. You might feel excited, you bought a new car, you want to show the world, oh, this is the car I bought. You might feel excited, you bought a new phone, you want to take a picture, you want to show it to the world. It's a good thing. But the problem is, somebody once said the internet does not forget. You might become a target in the near future if you've not been already. If you posted that new car that you bought, that new phone, that new shoe, and all that, and you become a target of a cybercrime. So I know already this person has a certain taste. I look through your profile and I'll see from day one, this is what you've been posting, this is what you've been talking about. It makes it easier for somebody to target you, and using social engineering, they can literally get a whole lot of things about yourself. So it's always very, very important before you post stuff. Think of it from a different perspective. Do you really have to post that? Do you really have to update? You might say I posted it yesterday, and the next day I deleted it. It's okay. It might not be there on Facebook, but if you go to Google, there are sites that actually crawl the social media every single minute, and they collect any update at any particular minute. And for them, they store the same information. So if you go looking again a week, a month, or a year later, you'll find out that Google has a copy of something you posted 20 years ago, you deleted, but that copy is still there. So it's always very, very key to ensure that before you post anything, you're aware of the dangers that actually exist out there. So there's also the question of how people feel about their online privacy. And you can see 46% of them say digital privacy is in the hands of the individual, which is very important. As much as sometimes you don't feel like that, it's really true. There's also 28% of people who feel neutral when it comes to digital privacy. Okay, I don't know where you fall in this, but definitely we both know where. We also have digital privacy in the hands of third parties. 17% of people believe that. And then there's 9% of people who had a cynical notion about digital privacy. So you look at what you believe in and then do your own induction and then do your own research. See, is it I who's in charge of making sure my privacy is okay? Do I leave it in the hands of the application that I'm using? Or do you feel like the government is the one to take care of our online digital privacy? We live in an era where information is very, very important, and we give out a lot about ourselves from the digital devices that we use, tracking us and all that. We also add to that by posting stuff that are not really necessary for us to do so. This is a very interesting question. How many of us have ever Googled stuff? Just your name, your username that you use for social media, your email address, that kind of stuff. You'll be so surprised by how much information the internet has about you. Take a minute or two when you're alone, try and Google your name, Google your email, or maybe an alias, and you'll be surprised on how much you can find out there. Because all these social media that we try to, update stuff and all that, they're kind of interlinked to Google. So Google also will grow these platforms and, save a lot of information from them. So it's always good to see how the internet sees you, because in terms of employment, people do background checks and all that, and it could be one of them, people will go and Google about you, and you don't know what information will pop up. So it's always a good idea to always, try to look online and see if you're able to see anything that you don't need to be there. All right, okay. So next thing is social media is free. I know you all believe that, but I would like to say it is not free, because a friend of mine once said that if you're using something that is free, you are the price, which is true. And I've mentioned something to do with application collecting information about us so that they can use that information to send out an advert. There was an issue, I think, a few years ago in the US election, and Facebook was part of it. So you see, it goes far beyond an individual. It goes far beyond what you feel like you know, and it goes far beyond how much you think you can give out. Because with the way the world is now interconnected through the digital way, so much is being consumed. And these all information that we're giving out, we have no idea absolutely where they're going. Like, what are they even using it for? Somebody would say, fine, they have my phone number, they have my name, and so what about it? It's an issue of identity theft. If somebody comes across all your personal identifier numbers and things that identifies you as an individual, let's say like a government ID number or email address from work and all that, people can go ahead and impersonate you. And you don't want to have that instance of impersonation, because people can do crazy stuff under you when you have no idea exactly when that happened. Part of it is because your information is lying out there. And once it's out there, you have no control at all. So it's always very, very important to be aware of such issues and certain instances that could put you in a risk. So also another issue is this information that is being collected about us every now and then. Not against this Huduma number thing, but I don't think it was necessary for the government to do that. That's another topic. If you want to go down that road, I know we'll argue a lot. But I would say even the government themselves, they are always trying to gather as much information about their subject as much as possible. Because once they have total control of us, it makes it easier for them to impose whatever they want to, because they know you cannot do anything. And if you travel out of your country, you'll notice that each and every country you go to, you have to take biometrics and all that. So you'll wonder, I went to Dubai, they took my fingerprints, and what is it for? You wouldn't understand, but this data is being shared across different nations for security purpose. But other than that, you don't know exactly how they're using it. So there's a whole lot of things when it comes to privacy and personal data being shared. And I know different governments have different policies to ensure that the information for individuals is in a certain way secured. So social media is not free in as much as data being leaked, being used for things that were not expected to be used also. So don't think because you're using a free application, everything is free. No, there's an argument I had with a friend some time back where he said, I will never join Facebook. And even if they ask me for my number, because even Instagram, when you sign up, they kind of ask you for your phone number. I'm not going to join any of those platforms. But I asked him, are you using WhatsApp? He's like, yeah. And I told him, in as much as you don't want to give Facebook your number, they already have it, even without you, knowing you've given it to them. So Instagram already has access to your number, whether you have the application on your phone or not. And other applications that you might not know they have access, they always have to. Okay, somebody has a comment. Let me see that. Okay, you're saying Silanto is asking about right to be forgotten as far as online content is concerned. Yes, you do have, and like I mentioned, you posted something and then you deleted. But if you go to Google, you still see the same information is out there. You have to, sign up a lot of things, to go to Google, send an email to them, asking them to remove that information. But the thing is this, Google might remove that information, but we have other search engines that might have the same information. Or even Google might not have the same information because it's being cached by a different platform that Google does not have control over. The only thing is they're just referencing to something they're not having control over. So it's a bit difficult. It's a bit complicated trying to, get yourself off the internet, because once you get there, getting out is almost impossible, I would say. The best thing you can do is just make sure you post minimum and when it's only necessary. Other than that, it's a bit kind of almost impossible to try to remove yourself online. So somebody will ask, after all this that we've talked about, how do I protect myself online? This is just to list a few, but you could do more than this. Check your social privacy settings. Facebook, even Instagram, I think most of these social applications allow you to set your settings to your preferred way of using them. There are those who ask you, like even Gmail itself will ask you to collect data so that they could improve the application, but you could opt out of it and say, I don't want, I'm just okay using the application the way it is. Also, don't use public storage for private information. This idea of having cloud storage where you're being given 10 GB for free, 5 GB for free, then you go put your whole life, like your entire life, in somebody's hands. You don't have to do that. I would say keep your things to yourself. Also, event tracking. If you're using browser, let's say Chrome, there are those extensions that are very good. Like say, for instance, AdBlocker. Then for tracking, you can use an application extension that is known as Ghostray. I'll gather all this information. I'll be sending this to you. I think Laura will coordinate with me to have this sent to the guys who attended this. So those are one of the ways you can ensure your privacy is protected. Not entirely 100%, but it's a good thing to do. Also, keep your email address and phone number that you mainly use different from the ones you want to join social media or sign up for a bunch of other stuff online. Do have at least two. Your main email, keep it very professional and keep it yourself. The other one, if you want to join other, if you're a gamer, you want to join those sites online, if you want to download stuff that requires you to sign up, get that dummy email. There are also disposable emails online where you can just use it for 10, 20 minutes and then it's gone. You could also opt to use that if something that you requires your email is not as critical as such. Also use secure passwords. We have password managers like LastPass. That's a good password manager. Always never reuse your password and keep your password strong. People would say use 8 to 20 character password, but it's possible to break up this password. Your password should have a combination of things that no one can really think of it. Like I can't sit down and come up with that. Don't use a password that has things that are related to you. Let's say you use a password that has your phone number, or maybe a password that has your ID number, or your password has your birth year, or a pet name that is close to you. Those are the things that make it easier for guys to think about it and then be able to crack your password. Because the more you post online, the more somebody can look at you and profile you in a way that they might be able to guess your password based on how they see you post stuff online. So password should be like a sentence, keep it a long sentence, and keep different passwords for different platforms. Never ever use the same password for different platforms. Also review permission for mobile apps and browser extensions. Like I've mentioned a certain extension that you can install, but also look at the permission. What are they asking to access on your machine? Same thing for the application installed on your mobile phone. What are the permissions that you've given this application? Do they really even require these particular permissions? Always have a look at that. Stay private on Wi-Fi networks. This is if you go, let's say, to a restaurant or your neighbor has Wi-Fi, don't just connect to free Wi-Fi and want to do your stuff, update everything on your phone, log into your mobile banking, your Pesa, whatever. It's not a good thing because you have no idea who's looking behind the Wi-Fi. Always be aware and always be security conscious, because these are the things. You may not be a target today, but trust me, tomorrow, the day after, it might be you. And I mentioned something to do with identity theft. People do malicious stuff using your identity. You don't want that. So always ensure anything personal and private is off the internet if you can, and off your phone if you really don't have to keep it there. Always post as minimum as you can unless it's really necessary you want to do that. And also ensure the privacy policy, you read and understand what information is being collected from your own phone or your own gadgets and devices. That's very, very important. From me, I think that's it, unless somebody has a question. Anyone with a question as we proceed?
You can unmute or type it in the chat if you have any question.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Peter.
Yes, Peter.
And I have a question, though you've not touched it, but I wanted at least to ask.
Okay.
There is a time, you always do the online stuff. So like you get like the machines, like one can never, okay, like you can't access them via these any disk and or remote access things. How, what is normally the setting behind it? I would like to know.
I haven't really understood you. You're saying you have an application that you can't access?
No, there is a way that you can make your machine in that whenever, talking of my laptop, in that whenever I connect to someone's machine
Yeah.
or someone's network,
Yeah.
that person can't access my machine. E.g., whenever you you grant access via any disk, you cannot even access
You correct me if I haven't really understood, but you're saying if you connect to somebody's Wi-Fi.
Yeah, okay, like the question should be,
Yeah.
I'm looking on a way whereby I can set my machine so that no one can access it, even through the AnyDesk things.
There's the issue of having open ports because applications require these ports to be open for them to communicate with other applications, right? So if you connect to the internet and somebody wants to connect back to your machine, let's say using the AnyDesk application,
Yeah.
you have to have a particular port open. You have to be connected to the internet if that person is away and not on the same network with you.
Yeah.
So there are ways you can say, I don't want these ports to be open. If you're on Windows, definitely there's a firewall you can use to block incoming connections from outside of any particular port that you have. That's one way. Another way, you can use an antivirus, which will make your life easy, because antiviruses will block any connection unless you explicitly say, I want to open port 33, whatever, for a certain communication. That will be allowed. But if all your ports are blocked and not allowing incoming connection, that is one way of ensuring there's no connection from the outside. But you see, there's also another instance where just using your browser, if you're already online, people can still have access to your machine. There's a tool called Beef Framework, Browser Exploitation Framework. I can send you a link. If you connect to that particular link using a browser, I'll be able to gather a whole lot of information from your device, be it the charge percentage, type of the operating system you're using, your browser version, and a whole lot of other information. This way, your machine will not tell you you're having a connection from an outsider. But the thing is, the security awareness, you being aware there's a possibility that if I click on this link, my machine could be compromised. Because even at that instance, not all antivirus will be able to protect you.
Yeah, sure.
It goes down to you as an individual, having the basic things to do, from having an antivirus, having an updated machine software, having all the application up to date, blocking all the ports you don't need, and installing the applications that are very unnecessary in your machine. Those are the basic things you need to do. But once you've done that, you still need to be conscious in terms of understanding. Hackers are always genius people. They always come up with different ways of making things happen. So you have also to know you could be hacked at any instance, and you have to be security conscious all the time.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Anybody else? The question?
There's a question in the chat box.
Okay, somebody is asking, does Android itself collect data from you? If yes, what OS will give me more privacy? Laura. Hello.
Hello.
Just a minute, guys.
Yes, sorry.
Just 1 minute.
Hello.
Okay, I think Jim is asking to be given 1 minute. So.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, welcome back.
Thanks. So somebody is asking, does Android itself collect data from you? If yes, what OS will give me more privacy? Collection of data is done by all applications. All OS on the phone, just at a different level. Android is the worst. Sorry to say it's the worst, because they collect a whole lot of information from your phone. From using Gmail, which is automatically installed, everything you do is being sent to Google. They don't use it maliciously, but you can't for sure say so. So yes, Android does collect a lot of information. Even when you turn your GPS off, even when you don't connect to the internet. There's a research I'm doing, not yet published, but I'll just mention a few things. Android will collect information and store them from location. If you've gone to a new place, it will collect that one. If you install a new application, it will collect that. The things you do, the little things, add a new contact, it will collect that. Once you connect to the internet, all this information will be sent to Google. Even if your GPS is off, they have a way of connecting and knowing your location at any given instance. So these are the things that you never hear them telling you, but based on the research that I was doing, these are the things that happen. So I wouldn't tell you that there's a very secure and more privacy-oriented OS for devices. The only way I know is use those old school phones like, 3310 Nokia and such kind of stuff. But for now, as much as you're using it, be assured, part of your privacy will be gone because there's no better way. The only way is stop using them. Stuff. Custom ROMs, of course, when you're using a custom ROM, it means you're building on top of somebody else's invention. So unless you do a whole lot of bunch of stuff, which also requires you to, install it on a phone, and this modern phone will not even allow you to do that unless you've unlocked your bootloader, which is also another process. If you can get to do it to work for you, well and good. But then again, even if you use a custom ROM, there's some applications that do not work on your phone because they find your ROM to be strange. So that's another issue that you'll have to face if you're going to use a custom ROM. Anybody else? Somebody said something to do with removing Google bloatware apps, removing Chrome and using Brave. Using Brave is okay, but how many people say I'm going to use Brave? Brave is a type of a browser. And then using a VPN all the time. Okay, using a VPN is also good. A VPN is a virtual private network that you can install. So it kind of masks your original location and it sends that as a dummy different location that's where you come from. But also there's also another issue of these VPNs collecting information about you. Because right now in this digital era, everyone is trying to get as much information about an individual as possible. So using a VPN is good to some extent, but there's also downside of using one because they themselves will be having information about you. It's a good thing to use. I wouldn't say don't use a VPN. It's good. Use it whenever you can, but be aware of security issues. Disabling JavaScript also helps improve security, not 100%, because most of these modern websites and applications will require you to use a JavaScript. JavaScript is good. It helps in rendering these things, especially from the client side. But then again, attacks that's limited to JavaScript are very minimal in as much as they happen, but they're not as critical, I wouldn't say, especially if you're using an updated OS, browsers and all that, you'll be safe. If you stop using JavaScript, then that means a bunch of websites might not allow you to visit them. Somebody's saying the DuckDuckGo browser does not keep the history of your searches, unlike Google. Kind of, I wouldn't say yes or no. I'm not really a good fan of that particular search engine. But you look at the browser level. Don't think on it from a tab level because using that is just like going to google.com and you load. But the engine that is loading all that up is your browser. If you're using, let's say, Firefox or you're using Chrome, they are built in such a way they collect data. And that's why you see both of them have an option of you having your own account so that you can sync all the details from history, blah, 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 to different devices if you have one. That's another way of them collecting information about you. Though not in a bad way, but in the very, very end, this conversation is geared towards, everything I use is taking my privacy away. What should I do to ensure this doesn't happen? Very simple answer, stop using them. But of course, we both know we need these particular things in terms of, browsers, applications, so that it can make our lives a bit easier. So it's just upon you to all sit down and say, fine, in order to have this convenience, I have to give up my privacy to a certain extent. Somebody is saying, how about using an open source OS like Lineage with zero Google apps and tunneling all your data via Tor? Google isn't the problem here. Let's not think of Google as one of those issues now. anyone and any big guys who come up with these open source tools. Some of them are community-based, whereby we have to scrutinize and understand this is a good thing. It is good. Of course, you need to have the technical know-how of using this particular OS. And at some point, you might need to have a Google application, be it the Google Meet, the Gmail, YouTube, and all that. Let's say you don't want to use any of the particular products that I've mentioned. There's an issue of using Tor. We say like Tor is a platform where all the communication is encrypted. No one knows who's who in that particular area. But for how long are you going to use Tor? At the same time, if you tunnel information through Tor, it's going to be slow because it's going to go to different hubs before it reaches the destination. So if you want to give up everything else that comes with your speed and all that, it's up to you. But I wouldn't say that guarantees you 100% privacy. No. WhatsApp privacy policy. The WhatsApp privacy policy, people didn't really understand what it's all about. And I think even WhatsApp themselves, they came out to explain what it is all about. Somebody just decided to say, oh, WhatsApp is going to share your number with your details with Facebook and all that. And most of the guys who are ranting online, they're the same people who are using WhatsApp at the same time using Facebook. WhatsApp on its own, privacy policy is one thing. On the other hand, and what is actually happening is also another thing. For anyone technical in this group, in this conversation, you can go and try use Babsuit, and if you have a rooted phone, install WhatsApp, and then filter the traffic that goes from WhatsApp to whatever it's going. See how much is being collected. See the relationship between your information on that device and what is actually being transacted between WhatsApp and all that. So my thought on WhatsApp is, first of all, it's essential because close to everyone is now using WhatsApp for communication because it only uses data to send a chat to different guys. It's a good thing to use, but be assured your data is being collected also. So there's nothing much you can do about it. The only thing you can do is stop using it. People are saying you should go to this new one app, the one that was supposed to replace WhatsApp. Not really replaced, but guys are migrating towards. At the same time, you're migrating, but you haven't even read their privacy policy. As much as they're telling you, we are Signal last year, you don't know what they're also collecting. This is just same coin, different faces. Digital privacy is very, very important. Guys are benefiting from it because the more information they have about individual, the more power they have, and the more easy it is for them to make money because they can sell this data or they can use the same data on their own to find a way of monetizing it. So as much as they're telling you it's free, the privacy policy will say ABCD, that if you sit down and go through it on your own, you'll find things are not the same. And if you continue having issues, they'll tell you stop using application and just find a better way of doing things. So privacy policy is key. Read it yourself if you haven't, and then I'll tell you. I wouldn't tell you it's bad or it's good for the people. I would just say find what works for you, but be security conscious. Privacy is very important. Know what you're able to give out and know what you don't want to give out. Once you're sure about that, then I'm sure you decide whether to use this application or not. But my advice is do the bare minimum of securing your devices and securing the application. Deny the permissions that are not necessary. Just do the bare minimum, making sure as much as you're giving your data, you're not giving everything. That is my advice. I would say as much as privacy is kind of leaving us, we still need this application for convenience purposes. Anybody else?
Any more questions?
Okay, so I think from me that's it, and I really appreciate your time. If you guys have questions, they can ask. My name for Twitter is Jim Wayans. Same goes for LinkedIn. If you have any specific thing that you'd like to reach out, then you can definitely do that.
Yeah.
From me,
Jim, Jim, it's been a very wonderful session. Yes, the last thing you said, we need to use technology. Like technology is there for us to use it, but it's how you use it, what information you give out, that determines how secure you will be. So yeah, always be sure to as Jimmy said, do the bare minimum.
Yeah.
But we would encourage that you do a lot more. But just take the first steps. Keep your account secure. Keep your devices secure. Keep yourself secure. Self docs, as I said, search for yourself. As he said, search for yourself on Google so that you see what other people can see. Sometimes we leave information lying around that you don't know other people have access to. Maybe old accounts that we opened 10 years ago and we forgot about it and they're still lying around. So just check what people can see and try and stay secure. So, yes, Jimmy, it's been an amazing session. Thank you so, so much for honoring our request to come tonight. And we hope that we will see you soon again and get to learn more about the amazing things you're doing. And for everyone else, yeah, and for everyone else who attended, thank you so much. If you have any questions to Jimmy, um, I hope I'm not breaking. If you have any questions for Jimmy, please reach out to him on his Twitter, LinkedIn, Jim Wayans, and you'll be sure to find him. And yes, thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a good night.
Thank you guys. Enjoy the night.
Yeah.